Asterisk, my new neighbor never speaks. Yet I hear him whisper my name every night. Asterisk, my new neighbor never speaks. He moved in 2 doors down the week I moved into my apartment. A quiet man who never smiled, never waved. But every night at the same time, I hear him whisper my name. Not through the wall, not through the door. My name. Like a private secret sent only to me. Asterisk, 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 SFX. Faint, almost inaudible whisper of a name. Leave ambiguous. Asterisk, asterisk, at first I thought it was the walls. Old buildings talk when the heat turns on. People joke about it. I live on the 3rd floor. The stairwell is narrow. The new tenant, tall, thin, moved in with a single suitcase. I saw him once on the landing carrying a small black bag. He never looked up. He didn't say hello. He didn't need to. The building is quiet like a held breath. Asterisk, the first time I heard my name, I was washing dishes. It was late, maybe 11:30 p.m. The whisper was soft, like someone leaning close to ask a question. Maya, I froze mid-sponge. The sound didn't come from the corridor or from the TV downstairs. It threaded through the plaster like a cold vine. I told myself it was the wind. I told myself a lot of things. Asterisk, the next night, the whisper came again. Louder, patient. Maya, I checked the peephole. Empty hall. The neighbor's door, the new guy's, was closed. I whispered, hello? Nothing. The building answered with its usual indifference. I started to keep a list on my phone. Date, time, whisper, reaction. It felt childish. Tracking it made me feel less mad. Asterisk, it didn't say anything else. Just my name. Always my name. Sometimes coiled like curiosity, a question mark. Other nights, it slid over the syllables like a hand tracing my cheek. I began to notice patterns. It always started when the streetlights blinked out for a split second. It was always after my shower. It felt personal. Asterisk. I tried to ignore it. I told friends. They laughed. Maybe your neighbor has your number, one said. Maybe an ex knows where you live. But nobody laughed when I told them the way the whisper made my skin prickle, the way it paused exactly when I inhaled. It wasn't an echo. It was a conversation I hadn't consented to. Asterisk, 3 nights in, I left a note on my door. Please stop whispering my name, it said, written with the odd boldness of someone writing to a ghost. I slid it under the wood and waited. In the morning, the note was gone. Not removed neatly, gone like a breath exhaled and never returned. I began to hear the whisper not only at night, but at odd moments during the day, like a bookmark on an otherwise ordinary page. Asterisk, then came the other things. Small invasions. My toothbrush moved an inch to the left. The kettle was set on the stove when I was sure I'd turned it off. A single sock appeared in my laundry basket that didn't belong to me. None of it screamed menace. It felt like someone rearranging the margins of my life to make room for themselves. Asterisk, one night, I found a folded paper on my doormat. A single line, written in a hand that looked like it had learned to press a pen carefully. I know you like to sleep with the window open. No signature. No smudge. Just that sentence. I held the paper until it warmed my palm. Then I put it under my pillow like a talisman against disbelief. Asterisk, after that, I stopped sleeping well. Every creak felt like intent. Every floorboard groan carried meaning. The whisper came nightly at 12:13, then shifted to 12:01, then landed on 11:59. It played with time as if testing me. And when it said my name, it sounded less like a word and more like an invitation. Asterisk, I considered confronting him. To walk across the landing, knock on his door, and ask loudly in the hallway, "Do you know why you whisper my name?" But loud questions make the thing in the dark louder, I learned. And loud things also get answers you might regret. So I watched instead. Asterisk. I started to wait on the landing at night, pretending to take out the trash but really standing there, palms sweating on the railing. He never came out. His light never blinked on. I'd peer through the narrow slats by the stair and see his door, small and resolute. Once I saw his silhouette through the frosted glass, a tall, stooped shape, but it didn't move. It just stood, as if listening, Asterisk, the whisper changed the night I moved my mattress to the floor. I had to. The building manager announced pest control, and I didn't want to be climbing into bed with technicians in my apartment. So I slept on the floor for a week. That night I felt a breath on my cheek. Hot, close, smelling faintly of wet paper. The whisper rolled over me. My name, then something else, a syllable I did not recognize. It felt like a greeting from a thing that had learned clothes and then thrown them off. Asterisk. I woke the next morning with a hairline pattern of bruises along my forearm, 3 thin crescents, as if someone had stroked me with a ring. They faded within days, but the memory of the pressure remained. I stopped sliding notes under the door. I stopped leaving my window open. I started locking my door in a way I never had before. Not because I thought he would come into my apartment, but because I could no longer tell the difference between someone who watched and someone who wanted to be noticed. Asterisk, I finally heard his voice. Not just the whisper of my name. The night the building lost electricity for an hour. Everything went black. I sat frozen on my bed, the world shrinking to the small halo of my phone. Then, across the hallway, there was a scrape like a chair pulled slowly across tile, and a low sound like a man clearing his throat. Not my name this time. A single, deliberate syllable, M, and then he stopped. Asterisk, after that, I couldn't pretend anymore. Whatever this was, it was learning language the way a child learns to count. It started with the one thing that made me most visible to it, my name. And once it had a handle on me, it began to practice other sounds. A cough that matched the rhythm of my speech. A soft humming that mimicked the tune I whistle when I cook. It was remodeling itself into me. Asterisk, so I did what any exhausted person would do. I recorded. I set my phone up by the door and left it to record all night. I wanted proof. I wanted to see a smear of logic in the static. At 2:13 a.m. or 2:12, my thumbs always fumble with numbers, but whatever. The recording picked up something I couldn't hear in the room, a faint voice, practicing vowels. Then my name, followed by a soft exhale that sounded like laughter, and then a knock. 3 soft knocks on my ceiling. Asterisk, I played the recording for a friend the next day. He looked around the cramped kitchen, then at me, and asked the one question I feared most. Have you told anyone who could be doing this? A stalker? An ex? I said no. I didn't want the explanations that would erase the thing I had come to fear. Explanations felt like magic wands that would make the moment disappear. In a way, I wanted it to be true. Asterisk, confrontation felt inevitable. I hammered on his door at midnight once. My fist stung. Nobody opened. The hallway answered with muffled silence. In the morning, there was a small card pinned to my door, a single line written in tight. Orderly letters. Stop knocking. No name. No apology. Just that command and a faint line of wet across the paper, like someone had licked the envelope. Asterisk, the whispers became bolder. Not malicious, but intimate, like a person learning to speak through a wall. Sometimes it called things I didn't like about myself, reminders I'd told no one. Rarely it said things only a true friend would know. It learned my rhythm, my secrets. And every time it did, the space between my bedroom and his door felt thinner, as if a seam had opened and we could both see into the same room. Asterisk, one night, desperate and dim with sleep, I answered. Not aloud, that felt reckless, but in my head. I thought the rough comfort of a thought might be enough. Who are you? I asked internally. The reply was a soundless pressure, like the weight of a hand on my shoulder. And then the whisper, Maya, not my name as a label, but my name folded into a word that meant stay. It was the most human thing it had ever done. Asterisk, the morning after that answer, the new neighbor's door was open. For the first time since he moved in, light spilled through like a private sun. I walked down the hall. The apartment was empty of furniture. Not just sparse, empty. The walls were clean and white, like someone had scrubbed them of memory. On the wall nearest the door, written in the same tight letters as the card, was one word, gone. Underneath it, in a different ink, 3 dots like an ellipsis